Buddhāvataṃsaka Sutra. Book 26. The 10 Stages. Video 8. When Diamond Matrix had said this, the enlightening being Moon of Liberation said to him, "Are all the elements of enlightenment fulfilled moment to moment only by enlightening beings in the 7th stage, or in all 10 stages?" Diamond Matrix said, "All the elements of enlightenment are fulfilled moment to moment by enlightening beings in all 10 stages, but especially in this 7th stage." Why? This stage of enlightening beings fulfills practice that involves appropriate efforts and accedes to the practice of knowledge and mystic knowledge. Now in the first stage of enlightening beings, the elements of enlightenment are fulfilled in the enlightening beings moment to moment by focus on all vows. In the second, by removal of mental defilements. In the third, by increase in commitment and attainment of the illumination of the teaching. In the fourth, by entry into the path. In the fifth, by going along with worldly occupations. In the sixth, by entry into the door of the teaching of profundity. And in this 7th stage all elements of enlightenment are fulfilled moment to moment by the establishment of all qualities of Buddhahood. What is the reason for this? All the elements of effort to evoke knowledge that are accomplished by enlightening beings in the 1st through 7th stages are accomplished without effort beginning in the 8th stage, and on until the final end. It is as if there are 2 worlds, one defiled and impure, and one thoroughly pure. It is difficult to cross over the gap between these 2 worlds, except by the great power of higher knowledge. In the same way it is hard to cross over the gap between alloyed and pure practice of enlightening beings, and it is impossible to do so except by the empowerment of great vows, skill in means, and higher mystic knowledge. Moon of Liberation said, "Then is the practice of enlightening beings in this 7th stage to be considered alloyed with afflictions, or pure?" Diamond Matrix said, "From the 1st stage of enlightening, all enlightening beings' practices should be considered free from the blemishes of afflictions, due to the dominance of dedication to enlightenment. But because of being even with the path that accords to their station, up to the 7th stage it cannot be called practice which has completely transcended afflictions." It is like a king riding around on an elephant, recognizing people's afflictions of suffering and poverty without himself being affected thereby, yet he has not thus far totally gone beyond the human condition. Then if he is born in the Brahma heaven, having relinquished the human body, and ascends to the Brahma palace, with little effort he goes around looking at the universe and shows the radiance of Brahma, he then cannot be called human. In the same way, from the 1st stage enlightening beings, mounted on the vehicle of the transcendent ways, course through all worlds, recognizing the ills of afflictions, but are not affected by them because of being on the right path, but thus far cannot be said to have completely gone beyond the ills afflicting all beings. Having given up the practices of the 7th stage, they enter the 8th, and then, mounted on the completely pure vehicle of enlightening beings, traveling around all worlds, they recognize the ills afflicting all worldly beings, but they are not affected by those ills, having totally transcended worldly actions. Yet the enlightening beings in this 7th stage have mostly transcended the mass of all afflictions, beginning with greed. Enlightening beings practicing this 7th stage, far-going, cannot be said either to be defiled with affliction or to be free of affliction. Why? Because they do not act out any afflictions, they cannot be said to be afflicted. because they are seeking Buddha knowledge and have not yet completely fulfilled their aspiration, they cannot be said to be without affliction. Enlightening beings in this seventh stage become endowed with physical, verbal, and mental action that is pure in intent. And they get beyond all bad courses of action that are disapproved of by the enlightened, and continually act in accord with the virtuous paths of conduct recognized by the enlightened. Also, whatever worldly arts and crafts and businesses they do in the fifth stage all operate without effort in the seventh stage. They become universally accepted as teachers, except of perfect Buddhas and enlightening beings from the eighth stage on, who have no peer, whether in terms of will or practice. All their meditations, concentrations, attainments, mystic knowledges, and liberations become present to them, in terms of cultivation, but not as yet as mature accomplishments, just as in the eighth stage the power of cultivation of wisdom and means in every thought by enlightening beings in the seventh stage is fulfilled. They attain all the elements of enlightenment to an even greater degree than before. In this seventh stage enlightening beings attain an enlightening concentration called perfect conscious ascertainment, one called careful consideration of meaning, one called preeminent intellect, one called store of differentiation of meanings, one called ascertainment of all meanings, one called ascertainment of meanings of things as they are, one called firmly established root, one called door of knowledge and mystic power, one called purification and adornment of the phenomenal realm, one called praise of the enlightened, and a concentration called door of existence and nirvana concealing various meanings. In this way, beginning with these, fulfilling the ways of ingress into great mystic knowledge, they attain 100,000 sets of 10 concentrations that purify the stages. By attainment of these concentrations in which means and wisdom are purified, and by the power of great compassion, they go beyond the stages of listeners and individual illuminates, and encounter the stage of contemplation with wisdom and knowledge. The unlimited actions of enlightening beings in the seventh stage are carried on without specific marks, as are their unlimited speech and thought. Thoroughly purified is the manifestation of acceptance of the non-origination of all things. Moon of Liberation said, are not the unlimited physical, verbal, and mental actions of enlightening beings in the first stage beyond the practice of listeners and individual illuminates? Diamond Matrix said, they are, but that is because of the magnitude of their intense focus on the Buddha way, not by their own conscious contemplation. But in this seventh stage of enlightening beings they become insuperable because of realization through contemplation in their own sphere of awareness. It is like a prince born of a king and queen, who has the marks of kingship and as soon as he is born is superior to the ministers, that is because of the lordship of the king, not due to thought by his own intellectual power. Then when he grows up, he goes beyond the works of all the ministers because of his own intellectual power. In the same way, enlightening beings excel all listeners and individual illuminates as soon as they are inspired, because of the greatness of their determination, not because of contemplation by their own intelligence. But enlightening beings in this seventh stage go beyond all listeners and individual illuminates by establishment in greatness and preeminence of their own experiential knowledge. Furthermore, enlightening beings in this seventh stage attain profound, unattached, inconspicuous physical, verbal, and mental action, yet they do not give up intense effort seeking greater excellence, by which questing effort they reach extinction but do not make it their final realization. Moon of Liberation said, "From what stage do enlightening beings arrive at extinction?" Diamond Matrix said, "They arrive at extinction from the 6th stage. In the 7th stage they enter and emerge from extinction in each mental instant, but they may not be said to actually experience extinction. Because of that they are said to have inconceivable physical, verbal, and mental action. It is a marvel how enlightening beings abide in ultimate reality without actually experiencing extinction. Just as a person with good knowledge of the characteristics of the waters of the ocean, educated, wise, and intelligent, with consideration relevant to every point, when on board a ship in the ocean becomes familiar with the winds and the currents and is unscathed by the ocean waters, in the same way enlightening beings in the 7th stage, having entered the ocean of omniscience of the great vehicle on board the vessel of the transcendent ways, abide in the sphere of ultimate reality, the limit of existence, yet do not experience extinction, and are not affected by the ills of thoughts of complete ultimate extinction of the compounded. Having attained this power and support of knowledge, by means of great awareness in which concentration, knowledge, and power are developed, by the power of skill in means and wisdom, they also show the face of mundane existence, while their minds are gone to nirvana. They are also surrounded by a great company, yet they have attained to constant detachment of mind. They undertake birth in the world by willpower for the sake of development of beings, but they are not stained by the ills of the world. They also become tranquil, extremely calm and serene, yet by expedient means they burn, without, however, being burned by burning. They are born in the knowledge of Buddhas and leave the stages of listeners and individual illuminates. While they come to reach the storehouse of the realm of Buddha knowledge, yet they appear to have entered the realm of demons. Though they have completely transcended the paths of the 4 demons, yet they show the sphere of operation of the demons. They appear to practice the ways of non-Buddhists, yet their minds have not abandoned Buddhism. They appear to follow all worldly occupations, yet they attain the way to transcendence of the world. They acquire adornments surpassing those of all creatures, human, celestial, or fabulous, but they do not take their attention off delight in the way of the enlightened. To the enlightening beings in this 7th stage of far-going, many Buddhas become visible, by great vision and willpower, many hundreds of Buddhas, many thousands, many hundreds of thousands, many hundreds of thousands of millions, many hundreds of thousands of billions, many hundreds of thousands of trillions of Buddhas. Having seen those Buddhas, they honor and serve them with great zeal, providing them with food and drink, clothing, bedding, medicines, and furnishings, and also providing comforts for enlightening beings and paying respect to the religious community. Those roots of goodness they dedicate to perfect enlightenment. They attend those Buddhas and listen to their teachings, take them up and remember them. Having heard the teachings, they put them into practice by means of the light of true attainment, wisdom, and knowledge, and protect them by accomplishing them, and become preservers of the teachings of the Buddhas unfazed by the intelligent questions of all listeners and individual illuminates. Their acceptance of the profound teaching, for the salvation of beings, becomes yet more purified. The roots of goodness of enlightening beings in this stage of far-going are forged over many eons, are purified, and become workable. They become immaculately pure over hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of trillions of eons. just as gold studded with all kinds of jewels becomes yet more radiant, more luminous, and all the more outclasses all other ornaments. In the same way the roots of goodness of enlightening beings in this seventh stage of far-going, produced by skill in means, wisdom, and knowledge, become all the more radiant, luminous, and immaculate, and cannot be outshone by listeners and individual illuminates. Just as the light of the sun cannot be outshone by the lights of the stars and moon, and dries up most of the swamps and ripens the crops, in the same way those roots of goodness of enlightening beings in this stage of far-going cannot be outshone by listeners and individual illuminates, and mostly dry up delusions and their swamps of afflictions, and cause bodies defiled by afflictions to become wholesome. For these enlightening beings, among the 10 transcendent ways, transcendent skill in means becomes paramount, while they practice the rest as best they can. This is a summary exposition of the seventh stage of enlightening beings, called far-going, most of the enlightening beings in which become celestial sovereigns with command of others' emanations, competent and powerful, inexhaustible in evoking clear understanding in beings, and in answering the questions of listeners and individual illuminates, skilled at leading beings into certainty. Whatever acts they undertake, whether by giving, or kind speech, or beneficial action, or cooperation, all of it is never apart from thoughts of Buddha, the teaching, the community, enlightening beings, the practice of enlightening beings, the transcendent ways, the stages, the powers, expertise, and unique qualities of Buddhas including omniscience complete in all respects. Why? Because they want to become the best of beings, unexcelled leaders and guides, and ultimately omniscient refuges. Wishing to be thus, they undertake appropriate effort, by whose energy they instantly attain a quadrillion concentrations, see a quadrillion Buddhas and recognize their power, shake a quadrillion worlds, go to a quadrillion lands, illumine a quadrillion worlds, develop a quadrillion beings to maturity, live for a quadrillion eons, penetrate a quadrillion eons past and future, contemplate a quadrillion means of teaching, manifest a quadrillion bodies, manifesting each body with a company of a quadrillion enlightening beings. Beyond that, enlightening beings with the power of vows can, by the excellence of their vows, perform countless transformations, of body, aura, mystic powers, vision, sphere of action, voice, conduct, adornment, empowerment, resolution, and performances. Then Diamond Matrix spoke these verses describing this stage. With profound knowledge following the trail of ultimate truth, mind stabilized in the sixth stage, perfectly concentrated, accomplishing the union of wisdom and means, they enter the seventh stage of superior practice. Empty, signless, vishless, yet with compassion and kindness, gone to the state of felicity, yet honoring the Buddhas tireless in virtue and power, while knowing them to be empty, they enter the realm of the seventh stage. In the world, with great forbearance, they've acquired attachment, extinguished the flames of afflictions and stilled worldly cravings, coursing in the non-duality of things as like reflections, illusions, dreams. Yet they show compassion, and enter the seventh stage. They purify the land, while their own minds, equanimous, are without discriminatory thought. They're endowed with the marks of a Buddha, while immovable in the essence of truth. They speak for the benefit of the world, while detached from sound, and in an instant enter the mind of knowledge of Buddhas. Illumined, they contemplate these teachings. entering the higher stage desiring to benefit the world. In this stage they do endless works for living beings, doing the deeds of Buddhas immeasurable. They understand lands, their various orders and ages, inclinations, intentions, various states of mind, and teach without end, faithfully, to develop all to maturity. Those who have reached the supreme path by this mind of knowledge, combining wisdom and means in all their actions, having attained in each moment of thought herein the virtues of the path, fulfill the 10 transcendent states. The seeking of good for all beings is giving. Discipline is the cessation of afflictions. Tolerance is non-injury. Energy is ever greater vigor in their undertakings. Imperturbability on the path is the meditation of the virtuous. Acceptance of non-origination, dispassionate, is supreme wisdom. Dedication is skill in means. Vowing is seeking greater success. Indestructibility hence is power. Knowledge is joy and guidance. Thus they attain the qualities of enlightenment moment to moment. In the first stage virtues are fulfilled by focus of mind on them. In the second, removal of defilement. In the third, cutting of bonds. In the fourth, the path. In the fifth, impartial action. In the sixth, knowledge of non-origination operates. Hence, as soon as they reach the 7th stage, they commence virtuous undertakings of many kinds. Why? The knowledge and deeds they achieve hence purify all that develops into the 8th stage. Far going is hard to cross. By many developmental practices they cross, as one would cross a path between 2 lands. Coursing in the 7th stage, they are undefiled, like kings. While established in the path, yet they have not definitely transcended all. When they reach the 8th stage of knowledge, further, they transcend mental objects, established in the action of knowledge. Just as a god does not look on the world as a human does, so do they act, like lotuses unstained. In this stage they get beyond various afflictions. Their afflictions are neither active nor completely destroyed. Being on the path, they do not act on afflictions, yet, filled with zeal for supreme knowledge, their affliction is not yet ended. They know various worldly arts and crafts, the use of medicines and spells, and are well versed and grounded in all sciences. They attain meditation, mystic knowledge, and powers, by cultivation, and further accomplish various concentrations. Having transcended the practices of listeners and the self-awakened, they are established in the infinite practice of enlightening beings, before by determination, from now on by knowledge. They are like children of kings, full of power when grown. Having reached profundity, they proceed yet further. Reaching extinction of mind, still they do not make it their experience, like having gone into the ocean on a steady faring ship, seeing all the water before them yet not being destroyed by it. Further endowed with the best of means, wisdom, and power, rich in virtues of knowledge and action, hard for the world to know, they serve millions of Buddhas becoming more pure, like gold adorned with jewels. The light of the eminent wisdom of the sages in this stage evaporates the wetness of craving, like the light of the sun. Having attained this stage, they become commanders, capable, skilled in teaching the fruit of knowledge. Seeking, imbued with stability, vigor, and strength, they see a quadrillion Buddhas in all directions, by concentration, and even more, those of immeasurable superior will. This is the 7th stage, called far going, purifying means and wisdom, hard for all worldlings and those who practice only for themselves to know. Having heard about this excellent practice of the wise, the gods and celestial hosts were joyful and made offerings to the Buddha and the multitude of enlightening beings, benefactors of the world. They gave flower garlands, banners and pennants, aromatic powders, precious cloth, many splendid parasols studded with jewels, and exquisite clouds of pearl necklaces. The goddesses produced many kinds of music, with pleasing, sweet sounds and superb rhythm, in offering to the Buddha and enlightening beings, sages of eminent character. They said, "All-seer, mighty, foremost and best, who shows the realm of Buddhas for the benefit of the world, it is you who evoke this music, with the strumming of various instruments. On a hair tip more Buddhas than grains of sand in trillions of Ganges rivers peaceful, peerless, teach the pure doctrine, preeminent, supreme. In a single pour are infinite lands, each with 4 continents and seas, as well as polar and peripheral mountains, all seen therein, uncrowded. On a point the size of a hair tip are all realms of being ghosts, beasts, fiends, humans and gods, goblins and serpents, experiencing the various realms of action. In all the spheres of the lands the supreme wheel of the purifiers is turned, as the Buddhas teach while adapting to the minds and thoughts of beings. In the body of each being are various lands, in the lands, beings. Those of higher development are humans and celestials, knowing them in their variety, the Buddha teaches them. A great land comes to seem to be minute, a mote of dust comes to seem huge. These and more are the spiritual powers of Buddha, of which all beings could not exhaustively tell. When such words of grandeur had been spoken, the assembly, silent, gazed happily at the best of speakers. Seeing the assembly had grown silent, Moon of Liberation spoke again. Please tell us the way into the practice of the 8th stage. Diamond Matrix said, those who have well accomplished investigation of the 7th stage of enlightening beings, who have purified the path by wisdom and skill in means, have accumulated ample provisions of virtue and knowledge, have thoroughly committed themselves to the great vow, are surely supported by the empowerment of the Buddha, have acquired the support of the power of their own roots of goodness, have their attention on the powers, expertise, and unique qualities of Buddhas, have purified their intent and thought, have attained the power of virtue and knowledge, strive compassionately and follow the path of infinite knowledge, realize the primordial non-origination of all things as it really is, and also realize the non-birth, signlessness, absence of becoming or annihilation, non-consummation, non-progression, non-regression, essential non-existence, equality of beginning, middle, and end, and non-conceptuality of all things, accessible to non-conceptual universal knowledge, equal to thusness. They realize these qualities of all things as they really are. They are wholly detached from mind, intellect, consciousness, thought, and ideation. Unattached, not grasping, equal to space, having entered into the nature of openness. This is called having attained acceptance of the non-origination of things. Then, imbued with this acceptance, as soon as enlightening beings attain the 8th stage, immovability, they attain the profound abode of enlightening beings, which is hard to know, unadulterated, ungraspable by any notion, unoriginated, measureless, unconquerable by any listeners or individual illuminates, aloof, facing total detachment. Just as when a monk with spiritual powers and ultimate control of mind has, through successive stages, reach the 9th level of attainment, extinction, he becomes free of all stirring cogitation and flowing thoughts. In the same way enlightening beings, as soon as they attain the 8th stage, immovability, become freed from all efforts and attain the state of effortlessness, freed from physical, verbal, and mental striving, freed from stirring cogitation and flowing thoughts, and become stabilized in a natural state of development. It is as if a person in a dream saw himself in a great torrent. He then would make great effort, eagerly striving to get out, and because of that great effort and striving he would wake up, and as soon as he woke up he would be freed from all that effort and striving. In the same way the enlightening beings, seeing the mortal being in the 4 torrents, desiring to come to the rescue, exert great efforts and striving for awakening of all knowledge, acting with great vigor. As soon as they reach the stage of immovability, they become free from all efforts. In these enlightening beings no actions based on views, passions, or intentions are manifest. Just as in the Brahma heaven no afflictions of the realm of desire are acted on, in the same way enlightening beings in this stage of immovability do not carry on action of mind, intellect, or consciousness. They do not even carry on the conduct of Buddhas, of enlightenment, of enlightening beings, of nirvana, or of learners and self-illuminates. How much less would they carry on the conduct of worldlings? Continue to video 9.